Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. Today, I am going to be continuing the series, The ABCs of Real Estate. Okay, we last left off with the letter M. Today, I'm going to start with the letter N. And the letter N stands for NACA and Neighborhood Housing Services. Both of these programs are free to the public and assist first-time home buyers with buying property. They also, in addition, provide money, particularly if you take their courses. They will give you money towards the down payment of your home if you qualify. Now, NACA is more geared towards those who have bad credit, and they will assist you with improving your credit so that you can qualify for a mortgage. All right. Neighborhood housing services is really more for people who have good credit, if you will. All right. Next letter in the alphabet is O, and O stands for a number of words. One of them is opportunity zone. If you are an investor, particularly those of you who are in the FIRE movement, you may want to consider buying real estate in opportunity zones because it will be less on your taxes. All right. The next O is operating expenses. Again, you want to look to see how much is it going to cost you to own a home. The price is one thing, but the expenses that you have to pay is another. And all you have to do basically is just ask the current owner how much is the water bill, the electric, etc. And I would honestly I would want to see the bills as well. They can hand that over to you. If they don't, proceed with caution. Lastly, O can also stand for owner financing. I do plan on developing a course that will cover that more in depth, even though I have mentioned it in the past here on my podcast and my YouTube channel. Moving along to the letter P, and the letter P stands for paint. Now, I know most of you know what paint is, but what most of you may not know is that your choice of paint will determine how fast your house can sell or rent. You see, I've seen houses where it's decorated nicely. They have it's orange walls. I've seen black walls, red walls, and dark green walls done beautifully. Here's the thing. Most people, when they see those walls of that color, they don't like that. They say, okay, you know what? It goes good with this person's furniture, but will it go good with the furniture I plan to put in there? And if the answer is no, then they're not going to buy that house. And if the answer is yes, a lot of times they're not going to pay you what you're asking for. They're going to pay less because they say to themselves, oh, we can't just get up and move in. We're going to have to paint the walls. That takes money and that's going to take time. So if you are planning on selling your property and you have those colors on your wall, please consider whites, creams, beiges, grays. And if you are going to go green, try like a light muted green is better than a dark green or even one like a forest green. Forest green is just a little bit too dark. Dark colors repels most people, even though it may go with how you have your home situated. Okay. The next thing that P can stand for is prepayment penalty. When you are shopping for a mortgage, look to see or ask, is there a prepayment penalty? You may not necessarily want to pay extra money just because you paid off the home in less than 30 years. Okay? So you may want to consider that. Next letter is Q. Q can stand for quitclaim deed. Quitclaim deed basically is the transfer of interest in a property. There's no buyer protection in it. So that's why when you go on most sites, they tell you do not do a quitclaim deed. They are strongly against it. I'm not all that crazy about it myself, but I have to admit I did do a quitclaim deed. What happened is that the previous owner, the name that was written in the city registrar, there was one letter off. They had I think they had an S when it should have been a Z, something to that effect. I saw it myself. So it's not like I'm guessing off my head. It's just that it's been that I did that in 2014. So it's been a while. I don't remember like the exact name, but anyway, because the city registrar did not update quickly, because they're a bit slow, especially when you're buying in some of these counties, these small towns, they're slow in doing things. And because of that, I did a quitclaim deed as opposed to regular title transfer. Now, a lot of times people confuse a quitclaim deed with a quiet title. A quiet title is something different. A quiet title is when you actually have to go to court in order to declare who is the owner. I did not have to do that. All right. So those two are take care of the letter Q. Next is R. And R stands for ROI. ROI is income to price ratio. So it's different from cash flow. Cash flow is more income to expenses, while ROI is income to price. Again, you want to look at the ROI when you are buying property. However, please note that once you buy the property, you can always change the ROI as well. You can always do things to a property to increase income. Let me give you an example. Some of you may have seen when I first tried to do videos on YouTube. I wasn't really too familiar with the camera that I had. What happened is that one of the properties that I looked at, it had 50 units, but it only, the laundry that it had only had like 4 machines in it. So if I wanted to, I could put in more washing and drying machines. Also, there was no vending machine in there so that one could purchase detergent. I could put a vending machine in the laundry room. I could expand the laundry room, put that vending machine in there and make more money. I could also, there was also some rooms that they had that were completely empty, that were in the basement. I could put a vending machine area there for snacks and things of that nature and make money off of that property that way. I could also, there was also on the first floor, there was also an empty room that they weren't doing anything with. There were actually 2 empty rooms, and one room they had used it for like special events, but I was thinking, why not make one of the rooms a daycare center? You understand? So things like that increases the income that a property generates, therefore affecting both the ROI and the cash flow. All right, moving right along. to the letter S. And S can also go for a number of words. One is subsidy. What many people don't realize, it is in many contracts, but some people either don't read them or don't understand them. When you get a subsidy to buy a property, normally it stipulates that if you sell the property within 3 years, you have to give the total subsidy back. So if they give you $40,000 to buy the property and you sell it within 3 years, you have to give them all $40,000 back. If you sell it in like 10 years or so, then you may, I believe it's like half. So if it was 40, you have to give back 20. And if you stay longer than that, then you don't have to give any money back. Also, let's say you pay off that house. If you pay off the house, you don't have to give the money back either, even if it's before a set period of time. Okay, so keep that in mind for those of you who are going to be applying for properties that come with a subsidy, or you're getting a subsidy to buy property. All right, next, subletting. Be careful, those of you who are landlords who want to be landlords and you allow subletting. Subletting also falls under the Fair Housing Act. Here's what happened to me that I didn't realize. Well, it didn't fully happen, but I was approached by one of the tenants and she didn't really want to give up her apartment, so she wanted to give it over to a friend of hers. Her friend made a significant amount of money less than what she made. That was somewhat of an issue. My lawyer told me that that would be considered discrimination if I let the friend in. That when you sublet, you have to, the person that's coming in has to make the same amount of money or more, not less. So we did not move forward in that particular direction. Next, the S also stands for Section 8. There is a huge misconception about Section 8. Plus, there has been some adjustments made to Section 8 as well that a lot of people don't know. First of all, now, if you have someone in Section 8 and they damage your property, they automatically get thrown out of Section 8. In addition, Section 8 gives you, I believe it's $10,000 now, in order for you to repair your property. I know that sometimes that's not even enough. And I say that because one of the investors that owns property near mine, her Section 8 tenant burnt down the whole entire house. So that $10,000 did not cover it, but at least it's something. You understand? So that's basically it. That's basically what I have to offer when it comes to Section 8. And also lastly, some properties come with Section 8 where the person doesn't have to be on it, but because it's in the property, everybody will be charged based on income as opposed to market rent. So that means that everybody in that property is not on welfare. That's another misconception that I see based on the responses that I got on a video that I posted. And then again, to reiterate, yes, it is still in effect. You can use your Section 8 voucher to buy a home. You don't need to use the Section 8 voucher for a rental. All right. And that's another misconception that I went into detail a little bit more earlier when I made that other video. All right. Now that we have a new administration, of course, they're going to revamp according to the bill that I went over. They're going to revamp Section 8 as well. Next, T is for title. When you are buying property, make sure you have clear title. Now, when you have a quitclaim deed, of course, that means that the title is not clear. But definitely you want to make sure you have clear title when you're buying property, because you do not want to be taken to court to declare who is the owner and go through a quiet title, okay? And make sure when you're looking at all of the documents, make sure your name is spelled correctly, number one. Make sure if you're buying it under your company's name, make sure that your entity is spelled correctly when giving title, because any incorrect spelling can hold things up when it comes to transferring the deed to you, and also when it comes to selling, like what happened to me as mentioned earlier. All right, next letter is U, and the U stands for Uncle Sam, okay? And I'm here to tell you that Uncle Sam does not play. When you have to pay your taxes, you have to pay your taxes, or else Uncle Sam will come and take your property from you. All right. The other thing that I have to say with Uncle Sam does allow a lot of deductions for people who are homeowners and investors. Okay. For example, whatever I do to the tenant's area is tax deductible. If I replace the refrigerator, if I replace the floor, if I have to repaint because they moved out, all of that is tax deductible. Make sure when you are getting an accountant that your accountant is also a homeowner, because I find that those who are not do not properly take off all of the deductions that they are supposed to. If you are an investor, make sure that your accountant has worked with many real estate investors or is a real estate investor themselves, because again, they may not take off all that is supposed to be deducted from your taxes, and then instead of you having a refund, you're over here paying Uncle Sam because the accountant doesn't know what they're doing. All right, moving right along. The next letter that I'm going to talk about is V. V stands for value add. What is value add? Value add is a property in which you can add value to it to improve the income that it generates typically, and or also to decrease the expenses that the property may have. All right. V is also for vacancy as well, especially when you're looking at commercial property and also multifamily, you want to look at the vacancy rate. All right. If the vacancy rate is a bit high, that may mean that for whatever reason, they don't have enough people to rent the property out to, or maybe it's not a desirable neighborhood, or maybe the city doesn't have enough jobs. It could be a number of things, but definitely look into the vacancy rate. Find out why, or as much as you can about it. That brings us now next to the next letter, which is W. W stands for walkthrough. Before you buy any property, make sure you walk through it a day or two before closing, just to make sure that everything is copacetic. All right. You'd be surprised. There have been times when there was someone that I knew who she was buying property. It burnt down 2 days before she was supposed to close. If she didn't do a walk, well, she couldn't really walk through the property because it was burnt down. But if she didn't at least drive by to just check on the property to make sure it was still there, she wouldn't be making a profit as instantly as she thought she would be. All right. W also can stand for weatherization. All right. When you are a homeowner, and even when you're an investor, you want to consider weatherizing your properties, especially those of you who live in the north, either northeast, Midwest areas. You want to, the reason why is because weatherizing your property helps maintain your property. It also lowers heating costs as well, therefore increasing the amount of income that you may make if you are an investor. All right. X. Now, unfortunately, I could not think of a word that begins with X. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and mention exit strategy. If you are an investor, before you even look at a deal, any deal, you need to consider different exit strategies that you can take or that you're willing to take before purchasing. It'll save you a lot of headache in the long run. Exit strategy is kind of like a if this, then that scenario or situation. All right. Next letter is Y. And Y stands for yield. Yield is the annual income as a percentage. It's the total cost to a percentage from income, is the annual income as a percentage to the total cost or value of a property. And yes, you may want to look at that, particularly when you are evaluating commercial property before buying it. And again, note that don't eliminate a property just based on the yield. Just look at it to see what it is producing right now, and think about ways in which you can adjust that yield in the future by doing what? A value add. All right. And then lastly is Z. Z stands for zone. All right. You have to be mindful of the zoning laws in your area before you do any type of construction. For example, here where I'm at, we have been approached by many contractors, corporations that want to add more space on top of our building. They want to partner with us. However, when you visit the zoning board said that they don't want us to build on top. Well, for some buildings in the neighborhood, they don't want that. Some buildings are able to put a garden on top of their homes, and others are not. So you don't want to go and spend $500,000 or $100,000, whatever it may cost you to either build upon or expand upon your home just so that it violates the zoning laws that are there, and then you have to rip everything down. It's not like the city is going to give you your money back. Many of the stores probably won't, and definitely the contractors that already came out and started working, they won't either. All right. And yes, there are some contractors that will work on your property and not visit the zoning board. They will not look to see if they can get a permit, and then you get into a lot of trouble, especially if they don't do it properly and it falls down and hurts somebody. Oh, you'll be in a lot of trouble. All right. So, guys, that's it. That's all I have for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the ABCs of real estate. Take these to heart, and hopefully the information that I shared will help you make smart choices in choosing a property to either live in or invest in. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.